Okay, so Nicole Kidman has asked to end her 19-year marriage. After almost 2 decades of what seemed like a happy marriage, with lots of smiles and perfect red carpet moments, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban are calling it quits. It's kind of a quiet shock. No big scandals or fights, just divorce papers that ended what everyone thought was a fairy tale. They were seen as the perfect couple for so long, the movie star and the country singer who made it look easy. People thought they had figured out how to make love last, even with all the attention. But it seems like there were problems under the surface that no one knew about. Now Nicole is speaking out. Her words have surprised fans and shown a side of Keith that no one expected. This isn't just a breakup. It's like she's saying what she's been dealing with all this time, stuff that wasn't obvious before. It happened quietly. Almost too quietly for such a famous couple. One rainy Tuesday morning in Nashville, legal docs popped up online. Nicole Kidman had filed for divorce from Keith Urban. No warning. No press conference, just a simple sentence in a public file. And a 19-year love story was just gone. Fans were shocked. It wasn't how celebrity breakups usually go down. No cheating rumors, no shouting paparazzi, no obvious problems, just silence. Within hours, the gossip mags went wild. Was this another celeb split? Were they separating? Or had the fairy tale just run out of steam? What made it even weirder was how they both reacted. Keith showed up on stage that night. No ring, and his voice was shaky when he sang, "Blue Isn't Your Shade." People in the crowd noticed something. He couldn't finish the last verse. He just looked down and walked off. Meanwhile, Nicole was thousands of miles away in Sydney, casually walking with her daughters. No comment, no sadness, just peace. The kind of peace that hides exhaustion. People close to them said Nicole was the one keeping everything together for years. Lately, though, even she was getting tired because sometimes romance just doesn't explode with passion. It fades slowly, painfully, and without you even realizing it. That's what made this breakup so strange. It wasn't about cheating. It came from silence. While fans were sad about their story ending, not many knew this wasn't the first time. Nicole's life had fallen apart and been rebuilt before. What happened with Keith explains what came after. Way before fancy red carpets and Oscars, Nicole Kidman was just a shy young woman with pale skin, wavy red-brown hair, and a voice barely louder than a whisper. Born in Honolulu and raised in Australia, she wasn't the confident movie star we know now. She was shy, unsure, and a kid who'd rather hide behind a curtain than stand in front of one. Her dad was a psychologist and her mom was a nurse. Their home was full of caring, but also expectations. Nicole felt things deeply, really deeply. When she got hurt, she didn't fight back. She disappeared. That's where acting came into the picture. It wasn't fame she wanted. It was a way to escape. On stage, she could finally talk without shaking. She could become someone else, someone brave, confident, and strong. At 17, she was on TV. By 21, she was in Days of Thunder and met a guy who'd change her life forever, Tom Cruise. He was already a huge star. She was just starting out and thought he was like something out of a dream. For a while, he was. But as the cameras loved them more and more, Nicole started to disappear again, just like when she was a kid. This time, the whole world was watching. What looked like a love story was becoming a lesson she'd never forget. When that love fell apart, it left scars that even Keith Urban couldn't heal. But before that pain, there was healing, or at least it seemed that way. When Nicole met Keith, it wasn't just dating. It was a rescue mission. When Nicole Kidman met Tom Cruise on the set of Days of Thunder in 1989, it felt like destiny. He was Hollywood's brightest star. She was the up-and-comer who was just getting noticed. Their chemistry was obvious, electric, even when they weren't filming. Before anyone knew it, she was 23, married, and living inside one of the most powerful entertainment systems in the world. First, it was amazing. Private planes, fancy roads, big homes. But under all that perfection, something bad was brewing. When you're married to Tom Cruise, you can't stay private. Everyone watches what you do. Every friend gets checked out. Every word goes through a filter. As Nicole later said, she shrank. Her world got smaller to fit his. Even what she wanted to do, her job, who she was, it all changed to fit him. But she stayed because she loved him, not because he was in charge. Together, they had 2 kids, Isabella and Connor. For a while, she thought being a mom would fix things. It didn't. It just made her feel more alone. Then there was Scientology. It was like a third person in their marriage. The deeper Tom got into it, the further Nicole drifted away. And when she finally got the guts to leave, she lost more than just her husband. She lost her kids, too. The organization slowly, painfully, completely cut off their relationship. Years later, she talked about it, sounding calm but looking sad. "They're adults now," she said softly. "They've each chosen what they want to do." That sentence, "they've each chosen what they want to do," showed more pain than any loud headline could. It wasn't just a breakup. It was a split that never healed, a wound that stayed with her in every relationship after. So, when she met Keith Urban, this wild, talented, broken artist from Queensland, Nicole didn't see danger. She saw someone who needed saving, and maybe helping him was her way of helping herself. By 2005, Nicole Kidman was still healing, or at least pretending to. She had thrown herself into work, being a parent and keeping quiet. After Tom Cruise, she wasn't searching for love anymore. She wanted peace. That's when Keith Urban came into her life. A country boy from Queensland, raised on music and chaos. Keith was the opposite of everything she knew. No fancy Hollywood talk, no controlling group, just a man with a guitar, a wild heart, and eyes that held the same sadness she had been hiding for years. They met at a fancy event in Los Angeles. Later, Nicole said she felt a spark right away. But what really got her attention wasn't fame. It was his pain. She could see it in him. The addiction, the loneliness, the way he smiled to hide it all. Keith had been dealing with his own demons for years, like booze, drugs, and the kind of insecurity that fame just makes worse. He wasn't perfect, and he didn't pretend to be. But when he looked at Nicole, he saw something pure, something he didn't want to mess up. They got close quick, almost too quick. Within a year, they were inseparable. They were two hurt people who thought love could fix what life had broken. Nicole said once, "He made me feel safe enough to trust again," and for a while it did work. Their wedding in 2006 was like something out of a dream, all lit up with candles in Sydney, surrounded by family and close friends. It felt like an ending and a beginning. For Nicole, it was proof that she could find love again without losing herself. For Keith, it was something to lean on. Still, underneath that perfect day, something else was starting to show through. The same old pattern Nicole had been through before, like she would become his rock, and he would become the storm. When you're in love with someone still fighting their demons, you're not just marrying them. You're marrying their struggles too. And those struggles? They'll test everything they think love can fix. For a while, it seemed like a dream come true. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, the movie star and the country music king. Such a balanced duo of glam and grit, they showed up everywhere together, radiating that soft, happy glow that made people believe in love again. Keith wrote songs for her. Nicole gave him awards. It was perfect, or at least it looked that way. Underneath it all, the fairy tale was starting to crack. Just 4 months after their wedding, Keith checked himself into rehab. He had relapsed. The headlines were brutal. Keith Urban in rehab just 4 months after marrying Nicole Kidman. For most couples, that would have been the breaking point. But for Nicole, it was a test. She stood by him completely. No public drama, no emotional distance, just quiet support. The same kind that had cost her everything before. She visited him privately, wrote him notes, and told the world she loved him no matter what. When he got back home, he called her his miracle. For a while, folks thought it was a happy ending, like their love beat the odds. What the cameras didn't show was how hard she worked to keep things together. When one person is healing, the other starts to sink. Keith's whole world was about getting better. Nicole's world was about him, and slowly her fun started to feel more like work. Still, she kept showing up to fancy parties, talks, and openings. She smiled like nothing was wrong. But fans started noticing things. Keith was alone more often. Nicole went to events without him. They had different schedules, were in different places, and lived different lives. The perfect couple was falling apart. They still loved each other. That was never the problem. The problem was that love had become a job. Every photo, every public appearance, every quote was just another act to convince the world and maybe themselves that everything was fine. Deep down, they both knew the truth. Love built on healing is fragile. Once the wounds close, you have to deal with what's left underneath. And what was left between them was distance. On the surface, life seemed perfect again. Keith was doing better. Nicole was winning Oscars. They had 2 beautiful daughters, Sunday and Faith. The perfect family photo, right? But underneath it all, things were different. Keith was always on the road. Nicole was always filming. Different time zones, different worlds. She'd call between takes. He'd answer backstage, distracted, surrounded by noise. They both said, "I miss you." But there was fading. Nicole once said in an interview, "We never go more than 5 days apart." Fans thought it was sweet. Really, it was a rule, a desperate one. When you start counting days instead of moments, you know something's wrong. At home, she was the stable one, raising their kids, setting routines, keeping things consistent. Keith was the whirlwind, the artist chasing songs, applause, and peace all at once. They loved each other, but they were living different lives. And the little things started to hurt. Forgotten anniversaries, missed calls. The way he'd walk into a room and she'd smile, but her eyes wouldn't light up anymore. To the world, they were perfect. Holding hands on red carpets, whispering to each other at award shows. But the camera only caught the smile, not the silence before it. Friends said Nicole had become too strong, that she never broke down. But strength can be a mask, a way to hide how tired you are of holding everything together. Keith, on the other hand, started pouring his heart into his music again. His songs got sadder, more honest about separation, regret, and needing forgiveness. The fans thought they were love songs. But Nicole knew better, because sometimes a song is just an apology you can't say out loud. And with each song he sang, there felt more like an echo. Beautiful, strange, but fading.